The Boulder City Sports Network is sponsored by Superior Builders, Inc. of Nevada, building spec residential and commercial with our investment partners for nearly 20 years. Contact Aaron at sbinevada.com for more information. And the I&I Music and Podcast Studio. If you're interested in using the studio, you can contact Dawn at iandimusic.studio. And EV Park, revenue-generating charging stations for apartments, hotels, offices, and short-term rentals. Contact sales at evpark.com to find out how your property can generate a new income stream.
Okay, we're back. Welcome, Boulder City Sports Network Coaches Show. Didn't say that exactly right, but we're back live on the Boulder City Eagles Coaches Show. I'm your host, Rich Shuman. Want to welcome all the viewers from around the world, especially the 4 in Chicago, the 2 in Boston, the 1 at my house, and the 2 above us house.
Well, one of those in Chicago is back out here, so
Is he? Okay,
he's
okay.
here this week.
The 3 in Chicago, 1 out here. Great. Is your dad back?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay, good. We have a great show tonight. We're going to talk about the matchup last week against Virgin Valley. We're going to preview this week's game against Pahrump Valley. And we're going to wrap things up because it's senior week with some talk about our seniors and their players and their families and their fans. So if you're good with that, let's get started.
Absolutely.
Okay. So for all of you that weren't there in Virgin Valley last week, we lost 56-20. Virgin Valley struck early and often. They kicked our butt pretty good. Their quarterback threw for almost 300 yards. He was 12 for 13.
You only have 1 incomplete pass?
I think that's what it says on my stat sheet, but
cheater.
I could be wrong. Asa did hit Anthony Eby for a long 35-yard touchdown pass, and we're going to highlight that. There were some bright spots on the defense. Tackling and gap control were issues, but what are your biggest takeaways from you watching that game? And
they were good.
Yeah,
they were real good. And I still hold my hat on the fact that I think Fallon's the best team we played, even though Fallon did lose this weekend for the first time. They lost 31-28 to Elko.
Okay.
So it's just late in the year, it's tough. It's tough to go undefeated. Been a part of a couple of those teams, and like the later you go in the season, the harder it is. So I imagine they struggle a little bit, but we've played quite a few really good teams, and I think Fallon and Mawapa and Virgin are. You can't argue that they're kind of the cream of the crop at the top of 3A, and it's what we need to get to.
Mm-hmm.
They were. We go into games and like when you break down film and you see all the stuff and these are the things we can do. This is how. I think we had a good plan, and I think all of our coaches were fairly confident going into the game of like, hey, I think I feel good about what we're doing this week. We just got to go out there and execute, and then you get out there and they were just real fast, and they were just a good team, and sometimes, I want our guys to play a little bit better when we're playing those good teams, but there's a lot of times there's not much you can do when they're just bigger, faster, stronger, and that's what we came up against. And we didn't play a great game. I think it's one of those where if we play to the best of our ability and everybody's doing their job and that sort of thing, I think we've got a chance, and we've got to hope that a team like that, kind of makes a mistake here and there. They didn't make any mistakes on Friday night. We didn't really make any like huge mistakes, but they came out and punched us in the mouth, and we kind of took it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was a little bit of fight there at the end, and a little bit of we didn't give up. Does that make sense? And that's one of the things that we really have talked about with these guys, because that was a problem last year. But we continued to play.
Yeah.
That's what I will say. I wouldn't say we give up. I wouldn't say we fought back. We continued to play.
I wanted to ask you about that. I mean, when you're down in a game like that, and it's kind of, and you're in the second half, and you feel like you're going to lose, or winning is kind of out of reach. Are there little wins that you go for at that point?
Yeah,
how
absolutely.
do you keep coaching? What are you trying to?
And that's one of those things like at halftime, and I say this with all the levels.
Yeah.
It's you go out, it's horrible. You can't look at it as the big thing. I don't even know what the score was at halftime, but we were down like three or 4 scores, something like that. I think we were down 30. I think whatever it was. I think it was like 36-6. There's no 30-point touchdown. There's no, if you kick the field goal from farther, you don't get 30 points. So you have to like kind of shrink the game. You have to, we always talk about then like winning the second half. All right. That was our like pride against Fallon. Like we shut them out in the second half and we scored once. Like I told their coach that they need to make sure they tell the papers like we won the second half.
That's
You guys
right.
didn't. But you got to kind of shrink it that way. And, you know, the big thing that we talk about with the kids at halftime all the time is, you know, depending on if we're getting the ball or kicking off, like we've got to go down and we've got to do something the first drive, and then we've got to stop them. Those are the two goals that we need to worry about, because if we can do those, things can start rolling. If we don't, then we're still in the same kind of boat we're in right there. You know what I mean?
Are there personal matchups that you say, you know, hey, receiver, I want you to get the best of this cornerback? I mean, we might not, you know, are there
We
little
do.
little
It's we got a little bit of an advantage where they had put, it was their senior night, so they got some seniors in that clearly weren't starters. You know what I mean? And like you take advantage of that because again, it builds confidence in the kids and us being able to do some things that it's not a complete wash. And you know, I've been a part of teams where you're down like that and they put in, you know, Joe Blow that's down at the end of the bench and he comes out and we still don't do anything against them, and that's kind of debilitating. But we did what we had to do. We kept moving. Like we didn't really quit. Like I said, we played. We didn't quit. We didn't go above and beyond. We just played the game.
Yeah.
You know.
what did their offense do that was so hard for your defense to match up with?
It was the speed. You know, we had kind of talked all week about we need our defensive line to kind of gap control, and what that means is like when you're off the ball, you want to get right to basically the level of the offensive line and stop everything, kind of jam everything up. And I think we were going, and it wasn't like horrible. We were getting like one or two steps too far. Their guys were, not only were they fast, they were quick. Their line was huge and good, and they did a good job of kind of just opening that crack for the running back to get through or the quarterback to get through. And then they were up to the second level where now they've got 5 guys that are big, beefy guys coming out at our smaller DBs and stuff like that. And I don't care what level you're at, it takes a special DB to full on take on one of those guys coming at you.
Yeah.
And like we didn't do that, and our guys hadn't experienced that. You know what I mean? That was the first team that really got their offensive line that was big downfield, and their running back just kind of stayed right on the lineman's butt, and that's tough. That's good football players on that side. You know what I mean?
There was a play where the number 57, and the kid just stood out to me on their team.
Yeah.
He was just a monster, and he played both sides on the line, defense and offense. And one time he kind of pulled out, and the running back just kind of slowed down and just waited for him to get out there, and he just kind of cleared the way. And
100%. And it's not this is not a dig at our guys, because I've been in that situation too, where you're out there and you're like kind of on an island. You're like, I'm going to make a tackle, and then some guy that's 290 pounds comes sprinting at you, and you're like, maybe not. Like it's a business decision, you know.
Right.
And our guys were there, and like the kids did what is natural. Like you try and like squeak around the guy, and when you've got a running back that was as fast as that guy is, that little bit of you going around, he's right up in that guy's jersey and like takes off, you know. So I mean, it's tough because you've got to have a lot of experience with that to do that comfortably. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How did Asa, the quarterback, handle some of the pressure and adversity through a game like that?
The thing that we've kind of noticed week in and week out, our offensive line, especially with the pass protection, has gotten so much better. You know what I mean? Like we struggled for a little bit in the middle where he was rushing some throws when he really didn't need to, but you're seeing now he's getting a little bit more in the drop. He's getting more on the ball and getting it there. I think he got hit. I think he only got hit 3 times. 2 of them were like real bad. One on the last play of the game.
I'm going to talk about that one.
Yeah, but it's, you know, they're working well together. You know what I mean? And I think each week he is getting more and more comfortable with getting the ball where it needs to. There was one pass that I was upset with, as you know, in terms of like the offensive stuff, and it was we kind of forgot what we were doing on a screen pass that we had practiced, and it was a new play we put in this week, and I don't know how, but we ran it backwards. And then he got thrown off, and then like kind of threw it over the guy, but not intentionally, but not, it was a whole thing.
Yeah.
But I'll take that. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the first time in all the years I've coached him where it was like, oh, we didn't do that play right. You know,
a mental mistake. Yeah.
Balls are getting to where they need to. We're starting to make some of the contested plays that we need to make. We're still, we get a drop here and there, and we seem to always get those on big plays that we need. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm not fine with it, but like if we get a drop on first down, all right, we still got 2-3 shots to get it, but we're getting those on like 3rd and 4th down. It's part of being a young team. You know what I mean? And like all those things that we keep talking about is like, we're screwing this up, but like we are getting that much better for the future.
Yeah. So speaking of those hits, I mean, this is something I've never seen before. Is the game's over. It's 56-20. Asa drops back to pass. Linebacker comes around the corner. He throws the pass. He gets hit late. I mean, absolutely wrapped up and driven into the ground. I mean, destroyed him. The hardest hit I've seen him take all year. But the game's already over, so they've already won. And the flag comes out of the pocket. I mean, have you ever seen a flag come out of a pocket after the game's over?
You need to also understand, I've seen that sort of stuff because I've also gotten kicked out of baseball games after the game's over.
Okay.
So multiple times. So I mean, it can happen.
Okay.
But yeah, no, and it was one of those where like, and I found out later it was not on me. I was like, I really didn't say anything.
I thought it was on the guy that did the hit.
No, it was on one of our other coaches that let the ref have it because he was sitting right there. And it's the end of the game. Like it's not anything that's going to change the outcome of the game. It's when you, and I feel like our fans understand this, and like us as coaches and the players definitely understand it. When you are not getting the calls over and over and over again, and then it's just kind of like one final thing and the game's over, and like there's just so much tension already that like everyone just let that guy have it. And it's my thing with the refs, and I'm a big proponent with like the late hits on the quarterback. And the other thing that drives me nuts is when guys don't blow the whistle when a play's over and people are clearly forward progression has stopped, and then there's guys just coming to tee off on people. And I hate it both ways. It's not something that I'm like, I'm okay with it when we're on defense. Like you're just going to get somebody hurt. And I think that's one of the things that, I think officials sometimes need to remember. That's kind of job number one. You know what I mean? Like you kind of let stuff go, and then you're going to get somebody really hurt by not doing your job. You know?
Okay. Well, that's a game we're probably happy to move on from.
Yeah. I mean, I think it had a beneficial effect for us because after the game, it's one of those things where there was a lot of disappointment from the kids, it's good. You know what I mean? I've been a part of teams, and like I said, we've talked about it a bunch last year. Like last year's team was just like, oh, thank God that's over. Like there was disappointment, and there's kids upset about the way we played and the way we performed. As the coaches, we had to sit down on Sunday and had like a good coaches meeting where we really like aired out what's going on. And one of the things that, I kind of shared with them, because I think there's a little bit of, I wasn't as angry as everybody else, of like really taking stock of where we're at this year and where we thought we were going to be and where we're at. You know what I mean? This year has been a success. And I know you get the buzzsaw of Mawapa and you get Virgin, who's a really good team, kind of at the end of the year. And it kind of tarnishes all the good things that we did early, but we're a good football team and we're a good young football team. And, to be in the position we were in to kind of have, be in control of like what happened to us, we didn't think we were going to have this year, and I think we had a good talk with the kids on Monday, and we've had 2 really good days of practice that sometimes you need that to kind of wake you up and like get us back to where we were 3-4 weeks ago when we were rolling and kind of everything was going smooth. So I think it's a good thing.
Good. So I'm sure everybody's looking forward to coming home and playing a home game this week. Senior week this Friday, October 24th at 7 p.m. at the high school. We have we take on Pahrump Valley. They seem to have a pretty good team as well. Their quarterback is quite a good player. His name's Kane Horabi, I think.
I don't know his name.
Yeah, okay. Got some stats on him that say he's pretty good.
He's a real good baseball player.
Is he?
I do know that too. He throws like mid-90s. He's good.
All right. Yeah. So when you're looking at film on them, what are you looking forward to this week?
Well, we've kind of like knowing Pahrump's the last game, you kind of get to see what happens throughout like the league play. And, you always pay attention to the league stuff and see what's going on. And their scores have been very comparable to what ours have been against everybody. The kind of one anomaly was the Meadows game. Like they beat them pretty good, but we still beat them. You know, their quarterback's good. Last year, we've got a horrible taste in our mouth from how the season ended last year. You know, and like we went up there and they literally threw the ball all over the place on us. And that kid played a great game, and I know their coach pretty well. And you know, and he was very clear. He's like, no, he's never played like that. That was impressive. You know, and no, we've got a chip on our shoulder. You know, we went up there and we kind of just didn't play. You know, we had high expectations and it didn't come through. So I think there's a little bit of a chip that we want to come out and do something. And I think we are very, very evenly matched up. You know, this weekend is totally like the seeding weekend where 1 and 2 play, 3 and 4 play, 5 and 6 play. And it's kind of for the seeding and a little bit of bragging rights. And, you know, I still love that we play Pahrump the last game of every year. And as much as everybody wants to say Mawapa is our rival, it's not a rivalry till we're in the game with them. Yeah. You know what I mean? But, like, Pahrump is that team that, like, they're fun to play. I really respect and like the people over at Pahrump, and it's always a good time. It's, you know, we play them all the time the last game, so it's somebody's senior night. You know what I mean? So it's a cool experience. I'm excited for this week.
How do you guys contain a quarterback like Kane, who's a true dual threat?
I think same kind of thing where we've got to stay in our lanes. I think we're going to be a little bit more aggressive with what we do defensively this week. I think we've worked on some of our coverage stuff and moved some guys around, that we got guys in the right spot. And I think the big thing with like those dual threat guys, I don't care what kind of guy you are at quarterback, if you are getting hit early and often and hard, you're a lot less of a dual threat. You know what I mean? So like that's kind of the thing that we talk to the kids about. Like every chance you've got to pop him. You know what I mean? And that kind of takes him out of the game and knows that we mean business. You know, those teams that are with the dual threat guys that can throw and can run, you know, everything runs through them. So those are the guys that you've got to contain, and it's a challenge for everybody on the field because he's a very good athlete. We've got to go out and stop him, and I think our guys are ready to do that. I'm very excited to see them go.
So play to your strengths. Your D-line is strong and powerful and has a lot of sacks.
Yeah.
And so get in the backfield. And,
100%.
And disrupt that guy.
You know, and those guys are phenomenal. And when they have good games, it allows Cam and Otis to have phenomenal games. You know what I mean? And I think their speed and quickness kind of on the inside is going to be something that's big for us. We've got moving some guys around a little bit in the secondary, and like, you know, there's going to be a lot of pressure put on Jappy this week. Like he's got to cover one of their better guys, and he's going to be kind of one-on-one here and there, which I think he can do, you know. And then the other guys, they've just got to communicate and make sure they know where they're at, you know. And I think a little bit of Noah Lund's going to be playing some free safety, and he looked very good there today, and I think we're good to go.
Great. Offensively, what are your goals to kind of set the tone on that side of the ball?
We've got to come out and we've got to run. It's watching them on film against different teams. They are very specific in what they want to stop. And it's clear against Virgin that they wanted to stop the run, so they had 1 million guys in the box, you know, and they're looking to stop the run. Against Meadows, who throws the ball all the time, they were spread man-to-man, which opened up the run. I can't tell you what they're going to do against us. Which one do they want to stop? But I think those are their two defenses that if they want to kind of come at us, I think we can throw the ball. I think their coverage guys are good, but I think our receivers are better. And then if they want to spread out to cover us, like we've got Cohen. We might even have Asa run the ball a couple times this week. You know what I mean? To kind of make up for it and get what we can up the middle and put us in third downs that are reasonable. We're very good at third and like 7 and less. It's when we get the third and forevers, those are just tough for everybody.
Yeah.
You know?
Special teams, I have in my notes for some reason that they onside kick a lot. Did you notice
I don't know
that?
if it's an onside kick so much as they just kind of angle kick. They're almost like kicking out of bounds and like, we'll give you the ball at the 35. Okay. You know what I mean? That's kind of the approach, which I'm surprised more teams haven't done with us because Chappie's an absolute weapon back there. Ebby had a huge return. You know, like
those guys get 50 every time.
Our kickoff return team might be my favorite thing to watch. You know what I mean? Like it is. We've got guys that care. I talk about it. I just told. I think I was talking to Armstrong about it. That our kickoff return team this year, we've got guys that want to be out there on it. That like when someone goes down, they're like, "I'll do it," and then they're just excited to be out there because it's an exciting play. And it's like the old when the Kansas City Chiefs had Dante Hall. Remember him?
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
there were starters that wanted to be on the special teams just to like be out there because it was so fun. Like that's kind of the vibe we get with the the kickoff return.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yep. Yeah, after a couple kicks, the other team says, "Don't kick it to that guy."
Yeah.
You know, that's what you want.
But then they kick it to Ebby, and Ebby does
Yeah.
his thing. So it's been
He
been
does.
pretty good. And even like our front guys, like they've had like shorter kicks, and Cartier had a long return. Armstrong's had a couple decent ones. I think Cohen had one that was pretty decent. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we've got guys that just are out there ready to play.
Yeah. How is senior week a different game than any other game?
Well,
of the
we
year?
kind of did our senior stuff a little bit early. We did it against Meadows and
Mm-hmm.
kind of started our seniors and stuff. So we are playing to win. We've got, the 3-4 seed on. Like we're not really changing much.
Okay, so normally you would play your seniors on senior week, like to start the game. But I
Yeah.
remember you guys did that.
Yeah, against
Already.
Meadows, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Other than that, it's just a big crowd, it's just a big night.
Yeah, and
just a big-
it's fun to kind of recognize all of those seniors,
Yeah.
Early before the game starts and stuff, and get out there early. We're doing a lot of different teams. I know for sure it's football, cheerleaders, band,
Oh.
and choir. So the senior night festivities will start at about 6:20. So,
Okay.
Yeah, it's way early because there's a million of them.
Okay, it's not a halftime.
No, not at halftime. We did halftime the first year. As a coach, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Because you're standing out there, and the first year against Pahrump, we needed to make changes at halftime, and we spent 12 minutes watching kids walk across the field.
Yeah.
And then we had to take pictures and we had to do all that stuff. So I was like, we will do it before the game. I will always give up before the game time as opposed to halftime.
Yeah. Yeah.
But halftime is the band's big performance. So get there, stay around, check out those guys.
Oh,
They're
okay.
pretty good.
Yep. So this game does have playoff seeding implications.
100%.
You don't know what those are yet.
No, we know that we will have a home game.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. It's just a matter of, are we the 3 seed or the 4 seed? If we're the 3 seed, we play the 6. If we're the 4 seed, we play the 5. So
Okay.
we know we're going to play either Meadows or Democracy. It's just, and it's one of those, like, you can't even, I really don't care.
Yeah.
I would like to play both. I would like another shot at Meadows because I don't feel like we played very good.
Mm-hmm.
But, win or lose from us, it depends on if they win or lose. So
When do you
can't
find
look-
out? Saturday morning or Friday
we
night?
usually check the scores and
Yeah.
know Friday night, so
Yeah.
we'll probably know by the time the game's over.
I noticed that Virgin Valley's playing Mawapa
Yeah.
this week. That
Yeah, yeah.
should be a good game.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
it
mind,
should be.
Wouldn't mind watching that one.
I think Virgin's got them this year.
Think so?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Can we talk a little bit about Senior Week or anything else you want to say about
Yeah, no,
the
let's
game?
go into
Okay,
seniors.
let's talk about
let's talk about those guys.
Senior Week a little bit. So it's final regular season home game. It's the night that we celebrate the players that have kind of been the backbone of the program. These guys have been with you for a long time, most of them, and been lifting weights year round. They've been working out all summer. They've been on all the bus rides. This is kind of their night to shine. What makes this senior class unique compared to maybe others that you've coached?
The thing with this senior class is, they came in, they were sophomores when I came in.
Mm-hmm.
And, we kind of went through what we did the last 2 years. And the place that this senior group will kind of always have with me is that, like, we really made the distinction early in the year that, like, this is going to be a program building, shaping, changing year, and I know that that's tough for a senior class to kind of like, oh, we're doing things different. And these guys have really bought in. If you get pushback from them, that's when you have problems, and I feel like we got the most buy-in, and like they kind of gelled everything together that like trip when we went to Fallon. You know what I mean? Like that was
Yeah.
one of the things that we talked about as coaches where we were kind of not cliques, but like we weren't a team yet.
Mm-hmm.
And that trip, like those senior guys, they've got big personalities and like kind of gelled everybody together. You know what I mean? And it's a tough thing to do when it was different this year. It was harder this year, and it's easy for a guy that's a senior to be like, I'm not doing this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's talking about stuff for the future that I'm not going to be around. But these guys have taken pride in it, and I think it's going to show. It's going to pay off. It's one of those things where like what they're doing is going to pay off years from now. And I, as a coach, understand that and appreciate that
Yeah.
position they're in. I don't know that they get that now, but like it's always going to be a special place because of that.
So they've kind of really left their mark on the team and
100%.
helped shape
I
it
think
for the future.
they were the seniors at a time when things really were changing for the program.
Pretty selfless,
Yes.
really. Yeah, that's awesome. Can you share any specific memories that stand out from these seniors this year? Or
They're just a good group.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're all good kids, you know, and with quite a few of them, they were my first interaction at Boulder City High School, because that year before I got the job, I was the JV baseball coach. So when they were freshmen, you know, my team consisted of Jonathan Krakalici and Connor Mosier, and Trey Adams was on the team. I'm trying to think if anybody else was out there. I think Armstrong was on the team. I forgot about that. Who else? I think those four, you know, were kind of the guys that that was my introduction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I remember Crack coming out as he's over 6 feet now, but at the time he was like 5'4" and maybe weighed 80 pounds. And he was like, I play football. And I was like, do you?
We're going to go through the players one by one. Okay. Is that okay? Just another question though. Is there anything that you do to make senior night kind of a special night? Is there anything different than kind of week to week?
The biggest thing is, and every year I feel like there's a little added pressure just to win. You know what I mean? It's that last home game. We do have the benefit of a home playoff game this year, but just being out there and have the kids just take it in. You know what I mean? Like, I can't express it enough to people, and I've said it on here before, I've said it to other people. When you come out and you run through that eagle and like you break through the paper, you can't really see it until the paper breaks, but just the crowd and the support. And I know, especially with this group of seniors, like they roll deep at football games. You know what I mean? Like, there's not just like oh, my mom's here. Like, they've got 10 people. You know what I mean? Like, we've joked before, and I've heard people say it, like the Nate Lewis clan, because there's like a bunch of them there, you know, and you could tell it's Nate's family because when he touches the ball, they go bananas, you know? So, you know, it's just great. Just take it in and enjoy it, because the Friday nights, like for everyone, even when you go on and play college football, there's nothing like the Friday night. You know what I mean? And this town makes it really special. I think the school makes it really special for everybody, and it's just enjoy it. You know, take some time. If you're on the sidelines, if you're on the field, just kind of look and see at all the people there that watch you and support you.
Yeah, I mean, that's my last question is kind of how can the community and the fans best show their appreciation Friday
just
night?
Be there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I don't think, again, it's that experience, and you know, we've talked about it before, where like I don't hear what's going on during the game, but you do and you don't. Like, I don't hear anything specific, but just the noise and just when we do this is one of the things that is amazing about like our fans in general, not to take a step back from the seniors, but like there's times where like I'm talking to somebody on the sideline and something happens on the field and you could just hear good or bad before you even turn around because of the fans' reaction. You know what I mean? There's nothing like just the absolute roar when something good happens. And there's also nothing like the absolute meltdown from our fans when something bad happens.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, let's, do you mind if we go through them? I have a list here of all the seniors.
No, absolutely.
I just want you to, you know, kind of give me the good, the bad, the ugly, the funny, the whatever you want on some of these guys. In no particular order here, but Mosier, tell me
Connor.
about him.
So Connor, again, a kid that I met through baseball. Connor has worked hard all 4 years, kind of no matter where he goes. And like, he's a guy that's kind of in between positions. He's worked at tight end. He's worked at some wide receiver, stuff like that. He's been on the kickoff team all year, and he is just a solid worker. And like, one of the things that is my kind of like go-to with Connor, and it's not even on the high school field, he's committed to working with the younger kids, and he does such a good job out there, and really cares. You know, he understands, and like when you talk to him, he understands that like that younger kids, like it's all kind of one program. It's built up to eventually get those guys there, and Connor does an amazing job talking to them and coaching them. Like, he does the special teams for the like middle school teams, and he is just a great kid.
Awesome. Krakalici.
Oh, Big John. John, he's great. I don't know what else to say about John. I learned early on that you can kind of give him a hard time, and you're going to get the and just kind of like stand there. It's amazing as big as he is. I think it's so funny to see him with his dad now because Jonathan's like a full foot taller than James. And he's just, again, just a good kid. You know, I feel awful. He hurt himself last year during wrestling, and it just kind of lingered, and we finally got him back. And today we were all talking and laughing because we were doing like a funnel drill during practice with like the tackling, and he just came up and just destroyed somebody. And you don't expect it from him because he just kind of like sits there and he's always smiley and goofy, and then like you give him the opportunity to hit and he does not back away from anybody. And that was one of the things I had heard about him early on, was how kind of tough he was and just kind of threw himself in there and would get his brains kicked in and then get back up and do it again and not have any problem. The one thing I will say, and this goes out, so if we've got somebody listening in Montana or any of those guys that are on that JV baseball team, the one thing I always remember everybody is Jonathan Krakalici had a better ERA than Gavin Flake that year.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, 100%. We wanted to make T-shirts that said it.
Well,
if Gavin Flake ever goes pro in baseball, I'm going to show up to his first game with Jonathan Krakalici's ERA on my shirt.
Well, he sure has $1 million smile, and it was fun to see him with his dad, just dressed up, suited up for the last game. Because every week seeing him on the sideline, you know, without being in uniform.
And the thing too, like he's
finally back.
He was bummed about it, and you can tell, but like Jonathan's not the guy that's ever going to like say anything, and like you could just see it in him, and just how happy he was that he could dress and get out there, and you know he's the one that, come hell or high water, he will get in at some point Friday night.
Good for him. Bohannon.
Oh, Carter. They call him Big Nasty, I think. Okay. Carter's an awesome kid.
Yeah.
He's a big boy. I don't know if you know Carter, but Carter is big. And he surprised me so much this year, because the last couple of years he's had some troubles, like kind of staying on the field and making it through. But he was there and committed all year. He had some hip issues early in the year during like the summer stuff, and was out and injured for a little bit. And then he came back, and then he started against Meadows, and really he had kind of worked in for a couple weeks trying to get going, and you can tell his hips were still bothering him. And then that week he finally turned a corner and looked good. And he is a smart football kid. And with him not being around as much, like you kind of think like, oh, he hasn't been here, he doesn't know. But when he's in there, he understands what's going on, and he is really fun to be around because he's just got a good personality and he's always happy, and he's there to make jokes, and I'm there to make jokes. Last year is kind of like the running thing was he couldn't play last year, so he was like our water boy all year, and he would hand me water all the time, and before every game, like I'd be like, I don't know if this thing works, and I'd spray it on his crotch. And then like week 4 I forgot, and he like walked up to me and handed me water, and then like presented himself, and I was like, oh, I almost forgot, my bad.
That's great. Becerra.
Vic has gotten in, and he is a undersized lineman. But again, it is all heart. You know what I mean? And he's someone that early in the year, we didn't really know where to put him and between guard and tackle. And he's worked in. I think he's played in every game and given us, you know, good snaps. Again, just a good kid. You know, he didn't finish the year with us last year. But I'm very glad that he came out this year and has been a good part of that like fun offensive line group, you know?
Yeah. Fuentes.
Oh, John. So John is he's not even, everybody calls him a foreign exchange student. He's totally not. Like they moved here. He lives here now. Yeah. It's not like he's going back at the end of the semester. But John is like, everybody's happy to see John. You don't like, no one sees John and has a bad day. Like he's just a joy to be around, absolute blast at practice. He'll kind of do anything. We got him in early in the year against Sunrise, and he had 2 carries. First one was awesome. I think he gained like 6 or 7 yards. We're like, all right, let's do it again. And then he lost 6 or 7 yards. But besides the point. But John's a kid that last year during the winter workouts kind of came into the weight room a few times here and there in the morning, and then would leave. And then he came in one morning, and kids were all working out, and I was like, who is that kid? Like, what's he doing? And he just like, he literally like took his shirt off and did pull-ups. And like for high school kids, like doing pull-ups is not the easiest thing in the world. Like we do them, and like if we've got somebody that can do like 10 pull-ups, it's like, oh my God, you are like Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
You know? And like John like jumped up on the bar with his shirt off and like repped out like 50 pull, and I was like, oh my God, who is that guy? And then the kid's like, oh, he just moved here, you know. And I tried to talk to him, and he was like, didn't understand what I was saying. I didn't understand what he was saying, and he left. And then like the next week he came in, and there was, I'll never forget, there was like 185 on the bar that someone had been like deadlifting. And John like walked in, he had his backpack on, didn't even take his backpack off, and like looked around and got down with one hand and like did a one hand. And I was like, who is that guy? You know? And then the kids kind of talked him into playing football. I remember early on that I was like, before we had seen him out on the field, I was like, are you fast? And he goes, yes. And I go, can you catch? He goes, I don't know. So
That's great.
it's been great.
Yeah. That's so cool. Tucker.
Tucker's a kid that kind of since I've been here, his sophomore year was that guy in between positions. We get a lot of those where he's not big enough to be a lineman at the time, not fast enough or kind of the right size to be like a skill position.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that first year when he was on JV, I remember like they kind of had him working at like a receiver, and I was like, oh, that is not for that kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But then I didn't see much after that. And then last year, junior year, a kid that just hasn't played a lot of football, but super willing to learn. And the thing, we've talked about it here, the thing that we fell in love with him about halfway through the year was like, you tell him to do a job, he does his job. And that got him on the field kind of the second half of the season at defensive end, and saw some good things, but a lot of like just not a lot of experience, you know, because with the younger levels, he had never played that position. He had always kind of been somewhere else. And we saw some good things. I think the last like 3 or 4 games, he started getting in there on defense. And that's kind of where we were thinking this year. Now, Tucker's a kid that he is in the gym with his dad. I'm convinced, like, whenever they're not at school. And his dad's a huge, huge guy. And when he came back this year, like, he had gotten massive and just really, really hit the weight room. And it's one of those situations where it's like, you did it right. Like, you look good. And we tried him early on at offensive line. And I remember the first practice, Bradshaw being like, he might not be bad. And throughout the year, he is one of the guys that has gotten progressively and noticeably better, you know, and it's to a point, and we say this all the time, where the biggest compliment you can kind of have for an offensive lineman is like, we don't notice you during the game, which means you're doing your job, your guy isn't making the play. And like, that's something that, you know, I can really compliment Tucker, is like, he's become that. And he's come out of his shell. Like, honestly, for the first 2 years, he maybe said 3 words to me total. And now when we have the lineman meetings, like, he's even cracking jokes now. He thinks he's a funny guy.
Right, good.
Kirby's another guy. He was that guy without a position. I remember JV, he played some running back and some linebacker. And I think the biggest thing I can say about Kirby is about like who he is as a person. Last year, right at the beginning of the season, it might have even been, I think it might have been the week of our first game last year. He just wasn't doing enough to see the field as a linebacker, and he had only played linebacker. And I remember Coach Dunnigan kind of pulled our linebackers over and was like, something's got to give. Like, we're just not doing it. And he told Kirby's like, I think you need to be a defensive lineman. And for Seth, that was kind of a slap in the face. And like, I think if you talk to him about it, like that day, his feelings were hurt. But he came in the next day and said, all right, I'm going to try the defensive line thing. And we kind of threw him in right away, and he was just a natural. Like, he's fast, he's strong, he is mean, he's certifiably nuts. Like, when you really get him going, like, he's a nut job, which is awesome for the defensive side of the ball. But he went from a kid that, like, running back, linebacker, like, the running back's not going to be a thing anymore, I don't know about linebacker, to really being a full-on, like, pivotal piece of our defensive line, you know. And like, we moved him to offensive line the first game of the year, and he did not love it and let us know that he didn't love it. And we didn't get much from him in that first game because he's not an offensive lineman. We were trying to put a square peg in a round hole. And we made that change, and since then, like, he has just been an animal on the defensive line. And very proud of what he's done over the last 2 years, because that day I know his heart was broken when Coach Dunnigan said that to him, but he took it and didn't quit, didn't tuck his tail. He busted his ass and has become a phenomenal defensive lineman for us.
You really got to admire kids that you have their heart set on a position, and you're not going to be that position anymore. Like, we have to move you.
Right. And
it's hard.
That's something that's hard for everybody. And I hate doing it, but there's just certain kids, like, you just know, like, this is what you're going to do. Now, I didn't know he was going to be this good at defensive line, even when Jack said it, because he was a little bit undersized, but he's really, like, he's gotten good meat on him this year. And, it takes something to kind of change your train of thought and then go out there and not just do it, but actually be very successful in it.
Awesome. Well, this kid doesn't do much for the defense, but Matthews.
Can you give me his first name? Who
Cam,
are we talking
I
about?
think,
Oh, Cameron
starts
Matthews.
with a C,
Yeah, no, there's not much you can't say about Cam. I think when he was given the opportunity early in the year and we kind of told him we needed you, our defense was going to be yours. It's going to be as good as you make it. He kind of took pride in that. Over the summer, I think the thing that really impressed all of us as coaches over the summer was when we were just kind of installing stuff. Like, day one, he took command of the defense and understood it at a level a little bit above everybody else. And at the time, as we were installing stuff, he was coaching on the field and getting guys going. And he is a great practice kid where you're going to get 100% from him. You don't see a different Cam on Friday nights. And you guys have seen how disruptive he is for the other team on a Friday night. Our offense has to deal with that all the time. You know what I mean? And he is probably one of the top 10 best crap talkers I've ever been around on a field. He's easily in my top 3 for best cheap shot guys. I mean, he'll never admit to any of it, but like, we've got like 900 of them on film. He only gets caught about 10% of the time. But no, he's
got to lead the team in tackles.
Oh, by far.
By far, yeah.
One of the things, and I don't know off the top of my head where he's at tackle-wise, but one of the things that I've been impressed with was kind of early on, heard him talking about how his goal was to break the all-time tackles record. We don't know. Again, we've got to go into the archives to find that out. But we know that Coach Dunnigan's son, Jimmy, had 122 when he was, I want to say a junior. I don't even think it was his senior year. I don't know. But that number for sure, not sure the year. But Cam was under the impression for a little bit that like 50 was the all-time thing, and Dunnigan shot that down. But he's got a ton of tackles and like really taking pride in like, I want to reach that goal and doing his job in order to make that happen. And he's playing through he's been pretty banged up. Like, I mean, he throws himself around quite a bit, and it's, we're 10 games into the season that there's a ton of wear and tear on his body, and he is fighting through it, and you wouldn't know that on Friday nights.
I've kind of never seen him come off the field.
No, and he wouldn't. And will always be a special place for me with kids like that. I think Sam Bonner was the same kind of kid where you're out on the field and they're just going, and like they might look tired here and there and doing all that stuff, and then as soon as the final whistle, they just kind of collapse, and just all of the pain kind of takes over his body. And that's been Cam the last couple of weeks, and still shows up and plays phenomenally from the kickoff to the last whistle.
Yeah, going back to the Virgin game, I mean, who's the kid that got hurt? Was it Eby or was it
Ebby,
Chappie? It was Ebby? Okay. Man, he got hurt bad. And, I just saw him take the shoulder pads off and couldn't. I was just watching him, and when I told my son he's going back in, a couple quarters later, I just couldn't believe it.
And that's something that that really has been impressive with this year. I mean, we've had a couple pretty good injuries that guys couldn't go back in, but we've also had a couple pretty good injuries where the guys either don't come out or they're out for a couple plays and they talk to Katie for a minute and kind of tell her like, no, I'm going back in. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of kids you want. That's a mindset that you can't teach. You've been around plenty of kids that like, they kind of, I hurt my finger. See in the second half.
Okay, 3 more. Armstrong.
So Aiden Aiden got moved up as a sophomore. We moved him up because he had been tackling really well in like the JV games and saw it. And we moved him up, and he started against Slam his sophomore year and made a decent amount of tackles that game, but really got his feet under him. And, the last couple of years, he's kind of fought for a spot to be on the field. And this year really took ownership of that strong safety position. And he's just kind of run with it. He's dropped quite a few interceptions. We kind of give him crap about that. But he's got a few as well, so it's not the end of the world. But Aiden's a hitter, and Aiden's another one. You get Aiden, and which is funny because Aiden doesn't really talk. Like, I know he talks with, like, his friends and stuff like that, but, like, you wouldn't call him, like, a chatty kid. But, like, he is a talker on the field, and I love that about him. We got into it today with people. You know what I mean? Like, but he's just a tough-nosed kid. He's there to do his job. He, every single play you're getting 100% out of him, and he's had to cover guys way faster than him, and he's right there. When they come up on the runs, he's there to hit, and he's become a very good football player the last couple of years. Or this year. The last couple of years, he was, like, working at it, but it's really taken off for him this year, and it's been fun to watch. And it's great to have his dad coaching him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, like, there is that understanding, but then there's also, like, I enjoy seeing the pride Mike has when Aiden makes a play or, anything like that. It's fun to see.
That's cool. Lewis.
Nate. So, Nate, again, he's a guy that he's always kind of been a running back. He was also kind of a linebacker here and there. Early on in the year, he took pride in wanting to be our running back, and he has run well. He got sidelined for, I think 3 or 4 weeks, with the shoulder injury. And, he's a workhorse. He was a guy, like, in the off season, he was there every morning. Like, I don't know how many times I'd pull in, and he was parked in his little blue car waiting for me to get there. You know what I mean? And, it's tough as a senior, but we've got like 3 or 4 backs that are all pretty good. And, some weeks it's his time to shine. Some weeks somebody else does it, but he's there and he busts his butt. And, like, having him back and, like, working him in, like, I expect a little bit more out of him now the last however far we go now at the end of the year.
Very good. And let's go with Adams.
Trey Adams. So Trey, 2-year starter. Again, like, I met Trey with the JV baseball. If you, at that time, like, he's just such a nice kid, and he was very much like, I'm a baseball player and I play football. And I think he was, like, wrestling at the time too. And I was like, oh, okay. And then kind of seeing him when he was on JV playing that year. And then last year he really stepped up and he became a football player. I think he's a center. And, like, his personality is a center. Like, I don't know how many centers you've been around, but, like, Trey is a center. I don't know how else to describe it. And he really has, with a young line, and not even young, because we do have a couple seniors playing, but an inexperienced line, none of those. He's the only one back from last year. The other 4 did not play. So, he's been that leader at times. We think sometimes he tries to do a little bit too much. But he can, you know what I mean? And, like, because he's able to do that and he's athletic and he knows what's going on with the offense, he tries to do that. He's really good when he does his job and takes control. They've gotten to a point with, like, him and Asa, and a lot of the guys do it, but, like, they kind of trust each other when it comes to, like, changing plays and stuff like that. And Trey's confident enough to, like, turn around even when his hand's on the ball and be like, we're not running that play. We need to change it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just a solid kid. He is one that is definitely going to get missed. I think the center position is definitely underappreciated by people. And I know he's gonna be like, oh, really? You told me I'm a center? But, like, that is a huge compliment. There's something to be said about the center, and when the center becomes a leader and does all the thing that Trey does, it's really important and special. And, like, he is an awesome kid, and I'm bummed he's graduating.
Yeah. I think if you're going to get in a street fight, you'd want the center to be by you.
100%.
That's the kid you want next to you.
100%.
Yeah.
And they all smell a little weird.
Yeah, do they?
Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I know Trey's like, oh, I shower. I don't believe it. Like, I don't believe it.
That's great. Well, we really appreciate the seniors. I know you appreciate the seniors, and this week we will come out and support those seniors. Anything as we close the show you want to say to folks?
No, I think we've got, this is the last regular season game, and then honestly the fun starts.
Yeah.
And I think kind of going into this, we're playing this a little bit more like it's a playoff game, just to kind of get into it, because playoff football is different than regular season football. You know what I mean? You got your preseason stuff, you got your league stuff, and then you got your playoff stuff. And we're really, as coaches, kind of attacking this as like a playoff game. It means we're going to make some different decisions than we normally do, and go out there and really win. You know, that's the goal all the time. But like, we really have a good plan. I think we're going to be pretty good to go.
Good. Well, we're really looking forward to it. Boulder City, thanks again, Bubba, for being here tonight. Boulder City, come out and support the Eagles on Friday night. Remember that the festivities start early. The game starts at 7. That's the kickoff. But all the senior stuff will start around 6:20, 6:15.
Senior parents, please get there early. There's nothing worse than like the kid waiting in line and like mom and dad are waiting to get into the stadium. Please get there early.
Yeah. We'll give up our seats to those senior parents too. If they're out there, we'll make sure they have a good seat. But yeah, that's it. Next week we'll be back before our first playoff game, or next week we'll be back again for the Coaches Show. And thank you all for tuning in, and thanks for being here, Bubba.
Thank you.
Okay.